Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is then what did we have when I was in a relationship with the narcissist or the psychopath? You had a vision of what it was going to look like, but you were held back. And to understand what is the connection, it's really their heart is their brain. Their heart is their brain. And, they sort of take ownership of your heart. It's sort of like, I think that's part of what becomes the codependency and the dynamic or the dance or interplay sort of at the subconscious is that they sort of oh they do the very thing unto others is which they blame others of doing unto them. So it's a real bait and switch or a flip, because it's all sort of cognitively created. The problem with narcissist thinking is they're feeling that love is what they think it should be. In other words, my life, they might, these visions of grandiosity, you know, that, they think that they act as if, but it's hollow within. But their ego oftentimes is very thick. And someone who is psychopathic, have conspiratory type thoughts, even though they seem like Joe Sixpack or beautiful Brenda, they, appear as if, but what's going on underneath the surface is this whole calculator, is this whole server room of different systems running that you don't know how to decode, code, read, press the right button on, have a connection. What you do, it says it does, and vice versa. It's the whole what do you call the server room. Have you ever seen those stacks of computers where they're just generating all that data and handling all that broadband? You can hear they've got the fans blowing over, and then people are on these little desks. What they have going on is sort of like that big mastermind room, and they put it out there as if they're caring for you, but it's all up here. It's not in the body. But they can project, and the problem is that they can think they can think and fool and deceive and conceal that reality of themselves. They conceal their reality through the mimicry of others' body language. They pick it up as if they're just acting, and then this is how they get through. They want to fit through like camouflage. They don't want to be detected. They want to detect others, though. That's what they do. But see, it's just sort of they sort of Houdini themselves into your heart and sort of take and go, whoop, mine. Isn't that fun? Isn't that great? Oh, yay, look, your heart is mine. And and next thing you know, they're putting in a riddle, a code you don't know how to deactivate, and they're giving it back to you, and you're like, this don't feel good. So, and then they take it out again, and then you've got this addiction thing going. The problem with that, I think it's a great, it is such a great question. And getting really back is super important. I have developed a number of tools to take a look at that. And to sort of help identify what the relationship is, like understanding just the dynamics of what's going on, and said, okay, I understand this now. Wow, I have learned a lot, but I've really learned more about myself. Is the takeaway. Yes, I learned a lot about you, but I also learned more about myself. Is very important. Like, that's your heart. Like, that's yours. You own it. So part of the situation is to understand that during part of the relationship, you might have felt that you had to be so accommodating to either offset rage or not be fit in and belong. In other words, it was an automatic process that you had to engage in. You had to find yourself, feeling sort of powerless in, and just allowing a horrible powerlessness. For some people, the powerlessness was very painful. that they just felt completely unidentified with, unacknowledged. And that, as human beings, you need people to be able to give you eye contact. Okay, we're talking about basics here, which is really important because I think people are getting away from this with the digital age. I mean, we're not even going to go there. That's a whole nother 9 yards that we could cover. Um, but if you are, if they're not giving you eye contact, you know, which is congruent, which is not just based in the mind. See, the problem with psychopathic is it's all here. It's not here. So the look is just this really wiry, just sort of alluring, almost it's like energetically sort of takes you and does what it wants with you. And it feels like, oh wow, this must be, love, or this is togetherness, or the answer to my prayers, or whatever the experience was. That was all pre-calculated in the mind. So their heart is their mind. It's a cerebral relationship based on what their projections of what following their usually there's some degree of grandiosity, but with a psychopath, you're really talking about more highly impulsive, high risk taking, not high risk taking meaning like driving a fast car, but, just doing things that most people would not do. Feeling lack of fear when really you should be a little bit nervous and like a little bit humble and, hey, I did wrong, I have a little bit of fear, hey, I got to correct myself, and have that, they don't have that. They're like walking around like, king, the shepherd of, and we're just the lambs. They're like, okay, look what we got here. They're completely different. They feel others as sort of stupid. They feel that because people do have a genuine heart, and people do have a connection, and people do have a genuine learning and growing and value for each other, which is based on empathy. It's part of your wiring is your empathetic neurons, your mirror neurons, which you are able to sort of reflect back to people. And you're able to understand how they feel. It's a magical really aspect of being a human being, is to really sort of be there in the moment, and just to feel that, and just it's a little bit of a connection. It's a feel good relating thing, and you are relatable. But you don't get that experience when you're in a relationship with a psychopath. You don't. There's nothing there. It's something that they have crafted, and oftentimes that's based for their pleasure and seeing your sort of demise and your pain. So really your downfall, you are basically, it's the message to them that you are better, you are the king, you have outsmarted, or you're the ultra talented, or whatever it is you have to succumb to. You do know best and I don't know nothing, whatever it is where you've gotten, is to understand that their heart is really sort of not, it's in their mind, it's a cerebral. So that's why you feel this vapidness, or like, how do I really process? Because they're devoid of that heart. They're devoid of conscience. I mean, so the seriousness and the totality is real. I mean, so we talk about, the high risk behaviors and things that they might have done, and maybe, with you, either, breaking you down with your routine, or, your thoughts, or kind of, creating things and promises that they never fulfilled, or, done things that were horrible to you, and just didn't really repair. They just, continued to pathologically lie, and not treat you, and not give you that acknowledgement and true recognition of who you are with heart base. So if you don't have that heart, it's a different electrical energy that can be measured. When you can begin to feel the energy. The heart has energy. Have you ever been around someone who you'd say, wow, that guy has a lot of heart? Can't you just feel it? You could go give him a hug, sit on his lap, he'd slap you a couple times and laugh. That's the heart. That's not the cerebral mind going in analyzing and judging and running a million miles and overthinking. That when you're in the that is oftentimes to create a newfound fear in their target, which that other person has no knowledge of what it feels or how to manage it. It's a very insidious situation or encounter to experience, but it's to understand I think a lot of the healing comes from understanding what was the deficit, and then understanding what exactly that is, and then giving it to yourself and acknowledging and validating it and say, aha, this is what was missing, this is what I need, and to pursue it with humility. But the problem is that why the suffering is so great is because that very intimate part of you that you allowed was met with a distrust, and so learning that that encounter, is what we call intimacy, meaning they've been, you've shared a certain depth of yourself with that person. This is why it's so difficult, because you've shared a lot of depth with that person, maybe not with a lot of others, and it was a special relationship. You had maybe some psychopathic word talk or that sort of twisted meaning shape of things, and you couldn't get off of it. I mean, for a lot of people, if they're on that train, you're on the crazy train, as Ozzy Osbourne would say, and everything is in that twisted mindset. So they're sort of twisting people's mindset, and it's sort of entertainment to them. But when you're sort of going crazy or addicted and doing silly things to get their attention, or things are really out of balance and you're not congruent in here, what you have in your heart is not balanced with what's here, or at least your heart energy is not be able to be fully open, you're up against a being where that heart space is not present. So your heart doesn't have that energetic connection. So it's sort of getting on this, area that of a cycle of, psychological demise. And so that it's to understand that their heart, it is not present. So you don't really have kind of a relationship. You can kind of look at it that this was an encounter for you to understand a little bit more about your own power. This is like to say, hey, look, the power is within, and see, so you couldn't get that from that. You can't get it from that toxic person. You can't get your happiness from that person. There's something that's counterproductive energetically, in the quantum field, that is not compatible with your being. And it's because they want to usually push out and annihilate and just they just like to push people around, use them, they would just have their way, have their will with people, places, things, objects, and they'll also, distort people's perspective. Just there's something, once again, in their energy that they are able to send out. Thoughts are things, and we're talking about how do you really understand the power. We're gonna get to the astromation box here in a little bit, just because it can really help you to restore, that heart and sort of congruency, which I feel is really one of the major touchstones of healing, thorough, complete healing, is to realize that it was to back you off and to say, and to show you where your power resides. It's almost like the gift that didn't give, but that ultimately was the ultimate gift. It's really important to see that it is an ultimate gift to come up with this type of contender and then deal with it successfully. I mean, that is a skill. Once you have it, no one can take it. And the skill will come in very handy, in all situations you might encounter in your family, your workplace, in your community, in your extended family. These are skill sets that will serve you well. And it's mainly a physiological, mindset, which also is reflective of your beliefs, because that is imprinted and embossed in the mind. You don't recognize it because it doesn't say, hey, guess what? This situation is going to cause this, and then later lead to that, and then you'll become over here, but this will also lead to, it's not giving you all that information because you're just living, but there are pivotal moments where the subconscious is taking that meaning and that interpretation and saying, yup, that's key and that's important, and building around that and then repeating it. So to understand that dynamic is to see that what was oftentimes missing is that true congruency in a relationship, meaning you're not trying to utilize them in a manipulative way, and to understand, because the tools of manipulation are so insidious, so you have to kind of know them, just like if they were hanging in your garage. This is a shovel, this is a rake, this is a hoe, this is a rope, this is the ladder. You have to know all the various tools of manipulation so you can identify them. Yup, that's the ladder. Yup, that's the shovel. So you can understand the tools of manipulation, and not in a judgmental way, just in a very scholarly way. is the mindset that I would encourage you to approach when dealing with this. So, the insidious manipulation of a psychopath, one of them is that projection. So they're projecting and gaslighting you, meaning they're sort of forcing a viewpoint upon you, rubbing you sort of the wrong way, but you sort of try to get that off the wrong way, and then they sort of just continue to go harder. Is to understand one of the manipulative tools of the psychopath is that of gaslighting. In other words, trying to speak your future into existence, and it's almost leading you, that the volume of their voice or their being or just their presence, it's leading you to do things that are not true. It's like saying, look, yep, here's the train wreck, go this way. They're driving you to the train wreck. So you have to keep, first of all, you have to understand that their attempt is going to be to throw you off course, to trigger you. You're having a pleasant time. Oh, why do you? I mean, it's just, it will never fail. It will never fail. You're thinking about something significant, and then they'll pull one of their tricks. They'll give a very overreaction, and or they'll be very unfriendly and have a lack of courtesy when you're deserving of courtesy, but then all of a sudden the withholding of courtesy, where you are expecting a certain thing and they go, nope, I'm not meeting your expectations. Nope, I'm not meeting your expectations. That is the message that they are projecting onto you and trying to put a thought in your brain which is not your thought. But then taking credit away from you and not giving you recognition for what it is. So in other words, you're being true in a relationship, and you're being honest, and you're good, and you're loving, but they cannot reflect that back to you. They do not have the ability. So that's why people feel that they have like holes, like a shotgun in their being, that they're all shot up or hurt or dissociated, and they have all this pain. It's because they cannot reflect back to you in their eyes. I really feel, there was a statement once that the eyes are the soul of the world, or you look into somebody's eyes and you see their soul. I don't know about that. I don't know, but I do know that once you have eye contact, there is a connection that is felt and experienced and trusted, and because of that eye contact, and then a healthy person who has empathy, just experiencing being, it might be every day, it might be a casual acquaintance, it might be one of your family, but those people who you can just relate to, there's a level of eye contact that is part of that connection. Even if it's for just a little bit, there is that eye contact. There's a feeling of being, of belonging, of trust, of respect. It's just a feeling. We're talking about really rudimentary. We're using that rake, getting that Zen garden in our being, really raking through that whole, area where there's a lot of tension, and just allowing it to flush out. You don't have to show this to anybody. A lot of this is a private moment, when you really, get that out, because this is, you have a very private self that's oftentimes needs to be nurtured, that's outside of that public self that you show to everybody else. So you have to realize you have that, but you want to merge them so that that inner and public is then coherent and it's moving together. Like what you see is what you get. And so that's what the tools that I've developed is to help you to get there. The astromation box, but we're also talking about the relationship between the psychopath and then the target, and then why is there this pain? Is because their eyes, what you're looking at is like piercing, like hurting. It's painful. It's their inability. They don't have the wiring to be able to reflect a heart-based presence. They don't. It's like getting in a car without a heater. Your feet are freezing, man. Your feet are freezing, girl. You're not going to get warmed up here. They are cold water running through their veins. I mean, they will call themselves ice water running through the veins. And they know the smirk. They know the look. They know it throws people off. Just the same reaction as if you were walking down the street, going to get your mail, and then you see a 6.5-foot lion running towards you. The look in their eyes, your eyes are locked. These are, they're intra-species predators. That term is not used lightly, okay? Have you, birds of prey, eagles, they swoop down, take them out of the nest. Yep, this is mine. Hawks, same thing. They're eating, but this is an interspecies predator, okay? This is not common, okay? Intra-species meaning within the species, the human species, that are preying on their own. Weird. I mean, and it's not just like, okay. Anyway, back on track here. It's to understand why do you have that pain or feeling, to understand that is because at crucial moments, pivotal moments, you did not get the eye contact, that centered of being, that heart contact to resolve and work through and go step by step and be able to have that communication and connection. No matter how brief, no matter how long, to a degree that is absent. It is a deficit. There ain't no ticker in the clicker. There ain't, it's not going on in there. So if you're, so I think what's missing is that then you have to understand that there is that eye contact that you need to have to restore a sense of congruency with yourself. So you need to be able to give, and understand that you need to have a fair amount of eye contact with people, not looking down, not feeling ashamed, not feeling scared, not feeling anxious, but being able to, and then be in truth. Be in your truth and balance it out and understand what people need. If you need to delegate, organize, do things, you're able to clearly do it. You've got that solidity. But if you will feel that you have some sort of, emotional air holes or emotional gaps where things were just missing, parts were, gone awry, things were not in a livable, comfortable state, a tangibly comfortable state. So restoring, it's very important. I talk about resensitizing, but you have to have a tangible, restored state when we talk about healing. And that is coming back into the heart. It's coming back into the heart and not having a lot of brain cells getting fired off. You shouldn't have smoke coming out of your ears. If you smell any brain cells burning, put it out. Stop burning. You don't want to have any of those brain cells over wiring. Come and practice getting into the heart space, and just being for a moment and just even pausing. Get that degree of control with yourself. I think you'll find that you can then sort of reprogram, and we talk about the astromation box. Oh my gosh, I am so juiced up because it's so effective. It's going to work for you guys. I'm so excited. We've talked about this, but I do want to talk about a little bit more about the healing and restorative is to understand, once you understand what the deficit was, then you can help fill it back up. You can put back, what's good, fertile soil, you can begin to help handle, you know, and put it in more enriched soil that is nutrient based, that can actually grow and become something real, versus this person which is not going to be real. It's just not shared in that state. So it's just they don't have the capacity. So that it's really understanding it on that scholarly level. And we're going to talk about the astromation box. We do have a few more minutes. And I hope you guys have hung in here with me. I am so excited, and I'm going to talk about this more in future videos, as well as other tools. And I am putting this together in a somewhat organized manner in the membership. So we have those as well. We're going to be developing those in more detail. But so, it's to understand that, there's a lot of things missing in that relationship for you, and you are important. You can, restore a feeling of sanity and, getting a tangible feel on the piece. So I talk about in the book that I'm working on, resensitizing yourself, really, working with your senses to the degree that you have that control. So we're talking about how important it is to be able to enter that B state and practice that. But I just go get my coffee, I brush my teeth, I get dressed, I drive here, I make this. So you've got this routine. So you need to upset the routine a little bit. You need to add something for yourself here today. You need to chill. You need to be able to have a cool moment, sit down, be with yourself. Find where's your comfortable kind of sacred space. You need to create kind of a go-to sacred space where you can be comfortable. Not sitting on a steel chair, that's like your desk chair where you're supposed to be doing your work and your computer work. It's more to be like at your couch or on the floor, and where you're just sitting with your your feet flat on the floor, and your palms open in your lap, and just being, and allow yourself to just allow an absence sort of thought and just being. And then so thoughts will kind of come through, and they just let them come and go. You don't try to, oh yeah, what should I, you don't try to chase after your thoughts. You just sort of let them go. But then come into the heart space where you can just sort of feel and be, and practice that. And then you go about your day, but then practice that, and then go about your day and practice that. And you'll develop a degree of control. And so you're able to be in a restorative state and be more congruent. And then universe will start to answer some of your questions, as answer and provide a solution towards your needs. And you go, wow, man, I better open up my ears wide, because some answers are flooding in, or at least I found some answer that I need. Wow, that really helps me from feeling fearful there. And you begin to keep applying. Keep applying the tools. I am telling you, it's like we talk about, it's so important to put you first, and to back your in, and so you can see the fruits of your labors. But when you do that, you'll be able to restore and then fill that up, and then you'll see that other experience doesn't really matter. It doesn't really hinder you. It doesn't really hurt anymore, because you see it for what it is, and then you've regained yourself, not your a dissociative state, but you've regained yourself, what you can call I, what you can call me, doe, a deer, a female deer, that whole, me, remember that from that musical? I mean, you find yourself. Sounds funny, but it's a B state. It's like you finally just sort of settled. And so we talk about how powerful the astromation box is really quick. Oh my God, I hope you guys are doing this. Please make yourself a box, a shoe box, something that is a box that you can, have a lock on and put your things. But what I want you to do is to get pieces of paper, and then tear them into, I need more time to talk about this, but to tear them into small, tiny pieces. Like, just rip it 4 times across, and then once in the middle. So you'll have like 8 pieces of paper, or maybe just 3 times, and then you have 3 big ones. It's good when you do it with your hands, because your energy is just sort of natural and rough and raw. or you can have index cards, or you can, cut different, squares out from white paper. That's fine. What you then do is then you write your I am statements. So I am safe. So I want you to have maybe 10 to 15 to start. And I want you, this is to help you to cultivate your affirmations, not just your affirmations, but to cultivate a be state that you feel and believe and can be with in a truthful basis, and just allow it to just sort of live. I am safe. Allow that feeling to live within you. And as you do that, you'll be able to cultivate that and just let that one statement sort of sit with you for, if you can do 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and just be with that feeling. And then set it aside. I am happy. So you're writing I am statements, and and then allowing that to feel here and just be with this 20, 30 seconds, and then moving on. I have, and then you can have your I am statements, and also some other commands. Go outside, get fresh air. Little things that you find that you need. I am. And then things that you want to cultivate. I want you to start with 10, and then do those for a couple days, and then begin to maybe go to 15. But do it once in the morning, right when you wake up. Really, when you're really you just woke up. I want you to sit with your box, and I want you to do these with your coffee, your tea, whatever it is. But have a few moments. This should only take 5 to 10 minutes. Give yourself at least 5 minutes. Sit with these, and then allow them to soak in, and then keep going. And so, whatever it is, I am intelligent. I am inspired. I am energized. I am juiced. I want you to have these statements that you want yourself to cultivate and create. We're going to do other things. The other tools we have are like your mentors as well. We'll go into that into other sessions, but you're right, my mentor is, and then, and just what is special about them. And then you keep your mentor in front of you in the written form as well. And you do these once in the morning, right when you wake up, and then in the evening, right before you go to bed. And it just sort of feeds it. This is not a lot of energy. This is not work. This is just growth. This is just self-feeding. This is just like drinking water. It's like slowing down for a moment. Just put this in front of you. Put it in front of you and just let it cycle. Let it cycle. Let it cycle. And it'll do wonders for you. You will begin to feel safe. You'll begin to feel happy. You'll begin to be connecting with your mentors. You begin